So welcome back, and we're going to continue with our study of parallel lines and geometry. And let's dive straight in. We're going to talk first up about something called a converse, okay? And a converse of a statement is as follows. If we've got some condition and a result follows, then the converse says if the result happens, the condition must be in place. Sometimes converses are true and sometimes they're not, all right? We're going to look at two examples right now. So here's a statement, okay? If lines are parallel, then the alternate angles are equal. That's a fact, all right? Here we go. These lines are parallel, okay? Just trying to see where it's easiest for you to see this, all right? These lines are parallel and the alternate angles, this one here and this one here, are equal, okay, as long as I don't bump the lines from being parallel. And this bigger one here, this obtuse angle here, is alternate to that one. If the lines are parallel, the alternate angles are equal. The converse is if the alternate angles are equal, if alternate angles equal, then the lines are parallel. And this is actually also true. So this is true. And this is true. Okay, so here's an example of a statement and its converse both being true. Now let's look at this one. If it is raining, then the street is wet. So the converse would be if the street is wet, then it's raining. Now, is that true? Okay, well, let's look at both of them. First one is if it's raining, then the street is wet. Is that true? Yes, that's true. Okay, true. If the street is wet, does it mean it's raining? No, this is not true. This could be false. All right, because maybe it was raining earlier, but it's not raining anymore. All right, or maybe it didn't rain at all and someone wet the street with a hose pipe. All right, okay. With the parallel lines, with alternate angles, corresponding angles, and co-interior angles, the converse is true. Okay, so I'm just going to remind you what that means. If we've got parallel lines, the corresponding angles are equal. If we've got corresponding angles equal, the lines are parallel. If we've got parallel lines, the alternate angles are equal. And if the alternate angles are equal, then the lines must be parallel. Lastly, if we've got parallel lines, the co-interior angles will be supplementary, not equal, but supplementary. And the converse is, if we've got co-interior angles supplementary, then the lines must be parallel. Okay, at the bottom of this last page, on page 53, we've got a fun little way to remember these. All right, these angles here are what we call corresponding angles, and they will be equal if the lines are parallel. And likewise, if they are equal, the lines must be parallel. These ones that are inside are sort of a U shape. All right, I'm not going to use the same color on these two because they're actually not the same size. We can see they're not the same size. This pink one is actually obtuse and the blue one is acute, but they will be supplementary. They will add up to 180 degrees if the lines are parallel. And if they do add up to 180 degrees, then the lines will be parallel. All right. And then lastly, okay, these ones are both on alternate sides of the transversal. Those are called alternate angles. They will be equal if the lines are parallel, and if they are equal, then the lines will be parallel. All right, and now the really important idea is the reasons that we give for each of these. Corresponding angles on parallel lines. We don't just talk about corresponding angles, we say they're equal because they're corresponding angles on parallel lines. These are supplementary because they're co-interior angles on parallel lines. And these are equal because they are alternate angles on parallel lines. Okay, let's now, we're going to ask you to pause the video and we're going to ask you to try, we did say we were going to test you, task 2, question 1. All right, see if you can identify all the different types of angles in each case. Okay, so let's look at the corresponding angles. Now remember, we showed you that little sketch, corresponding angles. So in fact, angle A and angle R. A and R. Okay. M and B. M and B. N and P. And lastly, what is corresponding to J? Well, J corresponds with Q. J and Q. So there we have them. We've got 4 pairs of corresponding angles. Vertically opposite angles. Okay, remember, vertically opposite angles are basically formed when we've got an X. Okay, so there's quite a lot of these because we've got A and P. We've got M and J. We've got B. What's vertically opposite to B? B and Q. And lastly, we've got N and R. N and R. Those are vertically opposite angles. Okay, next up we get asked to find alternate angles. Now remember, alternate angles are inside the parallel lines, but they are on alternate sides. So R and P. All right, or J and B. R and P, J and B. Okay, next up we are asked to find adjacent supplementary angles. Angles that are next to one another that add up to 180 degrees. Now there's loads of these because A and M are adjacent supplementary angles. All right, but so are A and J. So are J and P, and so are P and M. So we're just going to write those down quickly. A and M, A and J, J and P, and P and M. Right, we've also got another 4 down at the bottom here. R and B, B and N, N and Q and R. Okay, and then co-interior angles. Remember, co-interior means together inside. This green one and this blue one are together inside. J and R are co-interior angles. There's another pair of co-interior angles, and that's on the other side of the transversal. P is together inside with B. P and B. Okay, right. Now we're going to practice using this stuff, okay? So we need to find the value of the angles marked with a variable, all right, and we need to give reasons. Okay, so first up, what size will X be? all right, x will be 63 degrees. And the reason x will be 63 degrees, it's an alternate angle, but it's not 63 degrees because it's an alternate angle. It's an alternate angle with parallel lines. We must say parallel lines every single time. So this is actually 63 degrees. Okay, just want to make a point here. Have a look at this. All right, this angle over here and this one over here are alternate angles, but they're not equal. Why aren't they equal? Because the lines aren't parallel. So the lines being parallel is actually the main deal. All right, we need the lines to be parallel. Right, now that we've got 63 degrees, we've actually got two choices to find y. Y will be 63 degrees, all right? And one of the possible reasons is that y and x are corresponding angles, and we can use this shortcut, corresponding angles, parallel lines. Okay? All right, they are corresponding angles on parallel lines. I realize I didn't put an S on there. Okay. Do you see? Same corresponding position. You might say, but Paul, aren't these ones vertically opposite? And absolutely. We could also say that y is 63 degrees, vertically opposite angles. Right, now we need to find the angles over here. All right, we're going to just do this one together, and then we're going to ask you to pause the video and try some yourself. Okay, so we can choose here. We could actually find y first because it's an alternate angle, or we could find x first. What do we know about x plus 96 degrees? X plus 96, those are co-interior angles on parallel lines. What happens with co-interior angles on parallel lines? They are supplementary. So x plus 96 is 180 degrees. Our reason would be co-int angles, parallel lines. Okay, so if we subtract 96 from both sides, we actually get 84 degrees. Okay, 84 degrees. Now, if x is 84 degrees, then we could make an equation, because these are angles on a straight line, or we could say y is going to be the same size as this one, because these are alternate angles. So y will be 96 degrees, alternate angles, parallel lines. Okay, it would not be wrong to say that 84 plus y is 180, angles on a straight line. All right, we'd still get the same answer. Right, we're going to ask you to pause the video and try the next two, and then we'll go over them together. Okay, so this angle over here and this angle over here, what sort of angles are those? They're alternate angles. Are the lines parallel? Yes. Because the lines are parallel, they will be equal. X will be 71 degrees, and the reason that x is 71 degrees is alternate angles, but we can't just say alternate angles, parallel lines. Okay. Now, if this is 71 degrees, and we've established that it is, how do we work out y? Well, what's true of x and y? They are together on a straight line. They're next to each other on a straight line. What do angles on a straight line add up to? They add up to 180 degrees. So we know that 71 degrees plus y must be 180 degrees. Our reason? Angles on straight line. Okay, and let's subtract 71 from both sides, and what we get is we get 109 degrees. Okay, and that would get us full marks. We've given our reasons, we've got our angle sizes. Okay, this next one, what sort of angles are these? That's right, they are alternate angles. And what do we know about alternate angles when the lines are parallel? We know that they are equal. So we can make a little equation here. 3x plus 25 degrees is equal to 2x plus 50 degrees. All right? Don't forget to give a reason. These are alternate angles on parallel lines. Okay, now we need to solve this equation. We've got x's on both sides. That doesn't matter. Let's subtract 2x from both sides. If I subtract 2x from the right-hand side, all I'm left with is 50 degrees. If I subtract 2x from the left-hand side, instead of having 3x, I'm just going to have 1x. All right, now we want to solve for x. Let's subtract 25 from both sides. 50 minus 25 is 25. And there's our answer. I'm tempted to test this answer. I'm tempted to just check what size will this angle be if x is 25. Well, 3 lots of 25 is 75 plus 25. This angle actually comes to 100 degrees. And if x is 25 over here, 2 lots of 25 is 50 plus 50, this angle comes to 100 degrees as well. It's right. Okay, right. Okay, we're going to ask you to, we're actually going to stop there for today, but we're going to ask you to try the next 4 questions before we see you next time. All right, remember, really, really important is that you learn these, and I'm going to go back, it's on the cover of this workbook, okay, a few pages back. This here, crucial. You need to know the names of these angles and you need to be able to recognize them. Okay, corresponding angles are equal if we have parallel lines. Co-interior angles are supplementary. They're not equal. They add up to 180 degrees if we've got parallel lines. And alternate angles are equal if we've got parallel lines. Right, so before we see you next time, we want you to do the 4 questions on page 56 and we'll go over them with you next time. Have a great day, everyone.